Welcome to today's explainer, Mind Over Money. Today, we're escaping the infinite wealth trap by unmasking a silent anxiety that almost everyone experiences, yet nobody really talks about. So let's dive right in. Okay, let's get into this. Have you ever had a moment where you just looked around at your life and thought, man, I really should be doing better financially? Maybe you're actually earning significantly more than you did just a few years ago. Maybe your overall lifestyle has genuinely improved, and you've even managed to buy a few of the things you once only dreamed about. But somehow deep down, you still don't feel rich. You still feel like you're falling behind. We all have these built-in expectations, right? It's sort of like a shopping list for financial peace. We tell ourselves that if we can just get that higher income, park that better car in the driveway, or finally move into that bigger house, then we'll magically feel wealthy. We literally treat these major life milestones like we're just checking off items at the grocery store, just waiting for their receipt to print out so we can finally relax. But here's the absolutely fascinating disconnect between the dream and the reality. The strange part is that even when people successfully check off those boxes and get those exact things, a lot of them still feel exactly the same as they did before. They achieve the lifestyle upgrades, but that nagging feeling of needing more remains entirely intact. It's like your brain just quietly picks up the finish line and moves it 10 miles down the road. And this brings us to the central mystery of our explainer today. Why exactly do we keep chasing more money, pushing ourselves harder and harder, but never actually feel like we have enough? What is happening beneath the surface to make us feel perpetually broke, even as our incomes are growing? Let's transition from this problem we all feel to the psychological diagnosis of why it actually happens. The truth is, the biggest obstacle stopping you from feeling wealthy is likely not your bank account at all. Actually, scratch that. The real villain keeping us trapped here is how our own brain naturally defines wealth. You see, the human brain is a magnificent survival and learning tool, but it has one very specific, very strange habit that totally sabotages our financial happiness. It all comes down to a concept called hedonic adaptation. Think about the first time you achieved something you really wanted. Maybe it was your first good salary or a massive success at work. At that moment, it felt incredibly special. You probably thought, if I can just stay right here, I'll be perfectly happy. But within a few weeks or months, your brain adjusted. That amazing achievement just became your boring new normal. You adapted to the improvement, and suddenly you started wanting the very next thing. This creates the ultimate moving goalpost. A person earning $50,000 is totally convinced that $100,000 will make their problems vanish. But the person earning $100,000 is equally convinced that $200,000 is the magic number to finally let them relax. The money increased, the numbers changed, but the anxious feeling, it stayed exactly the same. The problem was never just the amount of money, it was the mindset. And that psychological adaptation leads directly into our second major trap, which is lifestyle inflation. This happens when your income grows, but your spending instantly grows right alongside it to match. You get a big promotion, and your very first thought is, yes, I can finally afford the things I wanted. So instead of increasing your actual wealth, you simply raise your minimum standard of living. Let's look at the specific anatomy of this inflation trap. It usually starts with a slightly more expensive apartment. Then, well, you need the nicer car to go with it, right? Then come the pricey restaurants, the extra streaming subscriptions, and suddenly, boom, you have a mountain of new monthly payments. Now, at first, life genuinely feels better. But thanks to that hedonic adaptation we just talked about, this expensive new lifestyle quickly just becomes your baseline. The luxury car just becomes a car. So the crucial point here is this absolute paradox. You are now earning significantly more money than you used to, but you are feeling just as stressed as you were before. Here's what most people completely miss. Sometimes the very things we buy to make us feel successful are the exact things keeping us from becoming financially free. And you know, the modern world is completely designed to exploit this psychology. Everywhere you look, you're told you need more to improve your life. Companies know that people don't just buy products, they buy emotions. You aren't just buying a watch, you're buying the feeling of success. A car represents status. A brand represents an identity. Spending money gives us a temporary emotional reward, making us think our lives are improving when we are really just emptying our wallets. As if our own brains weren't enough to fight against, we also have to navigate the comparison trap. Humans have always compared themselves to their neighbors. That's just human nature. But today, social media has taken this natural tendency and amplified it into a massive engine for financial anxiety. You are no longer just comparing yourself to the house next door. You are comparing yourself to thousands of strangers every single day. And this brilliantly illustrates why that comparison is so dangerous. Social media is an illusion. You are comparing your full, messy reality with someone else's highlight reel. You see the traveling, the brand new house, the perfect lifestyle. What you absolutely do not see is the hidden debt, the immense stress behind the scenes, and the sacrifices they made to get that photo. But your brain still asks, why am I not there yet? And so you spend money trying to prove you are successful rather than using that money to actually create success. I want to slow down for just a moment here because we really need a total paradigm shift. Real wealth is having control. We've been trained our whole lives to define wealth as having more things, more status, and more expensive experiences. But that is entirely backward. True wealth isn't about the utility of objects, it's about the utility of your own life. If we break down what true wealth actually looks like, it really comes down to these three pillars. It means having control over your time. It means having control over your decisions, and it means having control over your future. That is the ultimate metric of success. True wealth means controlling your time and future decisions. Can you wake up and dictate exactly how you spend your day? That level of control is what true wealth actually is. Here is the ultimate reality check for you. A person might have millions of dollars in the bank, but if their expensive lifestyle means they have zero freedom, endless stress, and absolutely no control over their daily schedule, they may not actually be wealthy. On the flip side, a person with less money but complete control over their life, their time, and their decisions, that person is experiencing true wealth. So how do we build an actionable escape plan from all of this? How do we rewire our mindset? Well, first, as we just discussed, understand what true wealth means, shifting away from acquiring things to controlling your time and future decisions. Second, you must aggressively separate your wants from your true values. And third, you have to actively train your brain to appreciate the progress you are already making. Step 2 of that plan really comes down to asking yourself this single, incredibly powerful question before your next big purchase. Is this actually improving my life, or am I buying this just because I want other people to notice me? Asking that one question can immediately separate your superficial, ego-driven wants from the things you truly value, completely changing your relationship with spending. Ultimately, we have to recognize that money is simply a tool. It is not a finish line. Your brain, by its very nature, will always want the next big thing. And hey, that is perfectly normal. But you don't have to let every single desire control your decisions. You can choose to build better habits. You can consciously notice what is working in your life right now, look at the skills you've gained, and learn to finally feel wealthy with the life you are already building. I'll leave you with this final thought to reflect on today. The richest person isn't always the one who owns the most stuff. Sometimes it's simply the person who realizes they have enough. So ask yourself, are you going to spend your whole life endlessly chasing a number? Or are you going to use your money as a tool to build something meaningful and truly free?